2, 3. Welcome to She Rocked It. This is the place where ladies are talking about the ways we're blazing our trails and the things that put the wind in our sails. Hello and welcome to the She Rocked It podcast. I'm your host, Karen Gross, and I am so excited to have you here with us. If you are loving what we're doing here at She Rocked It, please feel free to subscribe to the podcast, like it, leave us a comment. I love and I live for your comments. So please feel free to share your feedback. Also, feel free to share this episode with a friend because we truly believe that when women listen to, learn from, and lift one another up, we can all rock it. So thank you for spreading the word about She Rocked It. And I could not be more excited to share this next conversation with CJ Stasik, who is the Chief Executive Officer of One SEO digital agency, and she is doing amazing things. One SEO is a leading digital marketing firm that is committed to driving business growth. They specialize in a range of services from SEO to PPC, that's pay-per-click, Google local services ads, social media marketing, email marketing, and so many other things we all know we should be doing to drive our business growth. Led by CJ, the team includes over 100 expert digital marketers, including SEO and PPC specialists, web designers and developers, video producers, content writers, client relationship managers, a whole team that is rocking it. And I met CJ back in March during Women's History Month at a women's conference that was hosted by two local chambers of commerce in my area, the Central Bucks County Chamber of Commerce and the Lower Bucks County Chamber of Commerce. And CJ spoke on a panel that day, and I was so impressed by the wisdom that she shared with all of us. I had to follow up with her, and I reached out and asked if she wanted to speak to me here on the She Rocked It podcast. And well, you know what happened. Here we are. She said yes. I should also mention that since March, she has gotten married. Congrats, CJ. So in this conversation, she may mention her fiance, but she is now married. Again, congrats. And a couple other things I just want to share before we dive into this conversation. First off, I wouldn't have met CJ and connected with her had I not shown up that day at that women's conference. And I have to be honest, I was kind of hemming and hawing about whether I should take a whole day to be in that room. And I am so grateful that I did, because what I learn again and again is that we need to put ourselves in the rooms where things can happen for us. I am so grateful that I met her and other like-minded rock stars that day. So just a reminder to put yourself out there. The other thing is that I wouldn't have had this conversation today if I hadn't followed up with CJ and actually told her how genuinely inspired I was by what she had to say on that panel. And on the flip side, CJ would not be having this conversation with me had she not had the courage to raise her voice on the panel that day and also say she was willing to continue the conversation with me. All this to say, we have to intentionally take action to rock it. Things don't just come at us. We have to put ourselves out there, show up, and raise our voices. CJ raises her voice as a CEO, at conferences, and also through a blog and platform she founded called She Handles It. I highly recommend that you go to shehandlesit.com, that you check her out on LinkedIn, on the socials, and see what she is up to, because CJ is constantly sharing her wisdom as a woman in leadership. One final thing I want to say, this is really, really exciting. This episode of the She Rocked It podcast is sponsored by One SEO digital agency. Yes, I could not be more proud and honored to say that One SEO is our first official sponsor here at She Rocked It. So there are so many beautiful things that have come from meeting and connecting with CJ, and I cannot wait for all of you to hear the wisdom and inspiration she has to share. And now, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to CJ to share how she rocks it. So CJ, welcome to the She Rocked It podcast. Thanks for coming on. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, I'm the CEO of One SEO Digital Agency. We are a full service digital marketing agency here in Bucks County. We focus on medium to large size companies, particularly within the home service, professional service, and health and wellness space. Aside from that, I am just super passionate about growth and evolution and learning and really leadership in general, but more so as it relates to women and some of the obstacles that we face in here. So I get really excited when I get to talk about things other than just marketing, although it's a part of who I am and what I do and what makes life so enjoyable.
I love it. We're going to hit you up on all those topics today a little bit. So, so thank you. And I was curious, like, did you always sort of expect that you would be running a technology company and, embarking in this field? Tell us a little bit about your journey, getting to become the CEO of One SEO.
Absolutely. And I'm actually super proud of my journey and love to tell the story because I think that there are some young ears out there that need to hear it. So for me, I never thought that I would be in technology. I didn't. I grew up in the South. I grew up on a farm. My dad owned a fencing business. And what I did know was that I didn't want to be barefoot and pregnant by the time I was 19. So I really wanted to do, something that was going to build a career for me. At the time, I was very passionate about teaching and education, and I thought that that's what I wanted my career to be. So when I started college with the intent of becoming a teacher, to primarily work with children that didn't have the capability to learn in the same fashion that other people did. So working with kids with ADD and ADHD and autism, full functioning, and just trying to figure out how to help them get through society and be able to learn and grow and be successful. So that was my initial goal. When I got into college, I got really frustrated because I realized pretty quickly that I wouldn't be able to control the curriculum. So, unless I was going to, start something, brand new myself. And, as a young 18-year-old, person, you're not really thinking about that, or at least I didn't have that entrepreneurial nugget. It's like, I'm going to start my own school. So I ended up deciding to just change and do something different at that point because I'm like, I can't do what I'm passionate about. I can't be effective for students if these kids have to have the same curriculum as, an average student. So I really quickly said, you know what, I'm going to go into business in some way, shape, or form. So I started taking all of these computer courses and Excel. I mean, that's how old I am. They had classes on just Excel.
And probably paid off though.
and I thought that's, that's where my brain was at. So the world had completely different, vision for me. I lived on my own at that time. I couldn't afford to work full time and put myself through college. So I ended up dropping out. And I had one goal, and that was to land a job at the most prominent company that I knew in my area at that time. So it was a corporation that did cabinets, countertops, appliances, flooring, all for new construction, very male-dominated industry. And I walked in and I said, I want to work here. They were one of the biggest companies, and I just had the dream of climbing the corporate ladder.
And where was this? You still living down south at this point, or?
I was still down south in Central Florida. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So you just had the courage to walk into this place one day and say, really?
I did. I walked in and I was like, I want a job. And I went on and I knew that the only thing I was qualified to do at the time was the receptionist. So I said, I'll take this job. You will not leave me here in that role very long. I want this gig. Like, let me have it.
Wait, were you like the little girl who just was going to get done whatever she wanted to get done? Like, did you always have this spark plug personality? You're just going to walk right in and be like, hire me. That's amazing.
If we want to get into the psychology, I was the firstborn of, many children. I was supposed to be a boy. So when I was born, that was what my dad had in his head. So I had to just do, everything. I never realized limitations, at least for a very long time in my career. So I was in the role of receptionist for 3 months. That was it. And I got promoted and I became an executive assistant for the COO of that company at the time. So I got to learn a lot about how the business was ran, how the operations worked. And then I got really interested in the sales side of the organization. So I made many moves throughout that company. I was there for about 7 years. And when I left, I was running the sales and marketing for that company. They had no marketing. So I was doing things like brochures, pamphlets, collateral that I needed to successfully sell.
Right.
From there,
I just wanted to, just what you said a moment ago was a very kind of personal anecdote, about your dad. And it's sometimes when people instill that mindset in us that we can do anything, that's so important, isn't it? Like, it sounds like that was instilled in you early on and gave you that courage. 'Cause I'm always so curious, like what is that nugget that gave you the courage to just go for it and then build out this whole marketing department in this company? It's like, that's badass. So like, I'm always trying to say, so how could another woman sort of learn from that? Let's say if she wasn't told that growing up necessarily,
No, and that's one of my huge passions because I
Yeah.
can acknowledge that I was lucky to have a father that didn't put limitations or a mother even. And I think right now in society still you have those things. It's like, okay, if you've got a daughter and you've got a son, the son's going to take out the garbage, the daughter's going to, sweep the floors. I didn't have that luxury. Like, it was, I took out the garbage. I
Right.
welded the trailer. I took care of the dogs. So I think
Wait, did you say you welded a trailer? Wait,
yeah.
excuse me. Okay,
Yeah.
I love this.
I mean, so a psychiatrist would have a field day with my background. But
I'm
I
just
would
thinking of
say,
the lady in Flashdance. Wasn't she a welder? She had like the
yes,
cool mask, right?
yes,
Jennifer
yes.
Beals. Okay, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's just realizing that there's this entire group of women like myself that exist in this world that were, only child or raised by their father that had these opportunities to fall into these different roles. And it provides this sense of confidence that I can sit at a boardroom table with men and talk. I was just at a CEO event last night. I was the only female in a table of 15 male
Wow.
CEOs.
Wow.
And normally you would hold back, you would feel quiet, you didn't think your voice had a space there, but I don't have those limitations, or I don't allow those limitations in my life, and I owe that to how I was raised.
All right. Well, we're gonna ping pong around a little bit. I just have to ask you about that moment of sitting in that room as the
Yeah.
only woman. And what the hell is going on, CJ?
Yeah.
Why is that still the case in your opinion as a CEO?
Honestly, I think that there's still the fear that certain roles won't be accepted by women. There's also, and this is not the favorite public opinion, and I may have said this before, it's not society's job to fix this problem, right? So I just told you that I went in and was comfortable to go in and say, hey, I want a job here, but it was because I didn't have a limitation in my head that says I shouldn't do that I needed to have those qualifications or I needed to have those skill sets. So I think what's going on is that we're still not speaking up enough about what we want. We're still holding ourselves back. And then part of it too is that we're still holding on to all of the home obligations, the family obligations, the caretaker obligations in most households. I spoke to several gentlemen last night, which was really nice to hear that they're participating in those obligations. But as a woman, you might say, oh, I can't take the role, as a leader there because I have to leave every day at 4 o'clock because my daughter is a swimmer. No, AI exists, technology exists, Zoom exists, the phones exist. There's all this technology that can allow me to leave at 4 o'clock, take my daughter to swim, hop on my computer while she's at practice, and still be a leader in my organization. So I think it's that mental component we've got to get past.
I appreciate you sharing that. I think it's really interesting. Why are we hitting up against these barriers that not enough women are in these rooms, in these seats, right, as CEOs? So thank you for hashing that out. I mean, I'm curious too, like the conversations that have to happen in your personal life too. Say, excuse me, partner, you got to help here, right? And I think that those conversations can sometimes be even harder to have than the ones you're having at work, right?
I just put out a TikTok yesterday, a video for this new series, and lesson one is about that village, right? We're told that it takes a village to raise children. So let's just talk about family obligations. But what happens is we don't have a village because we told everybody we got it. I can do it. It's okay.
Ooh.
Don't help me do the dishes because I don't like how you load the dishwasher. Don't fold the towels because I want them folded a certain way. I got it. I can handle it. If I want it done right, I need to do it myself. So we've ran the village off. Right? We've told everybody, I'm the superwoman. I can do it. You have to change that. Your point is exactly the point I made in that video, which is it's okay to have your partner do the dishes, and they might not load it right, but you shouldn't care as long as they get clean, right?
You are so speaking to me right now because I like to load the dishes a certain way. I just must
Me
say,
too.
right?
Me
Okay.
too. So I am preaching to myself, right? My fiance and I joke all the time about folding towels because I fold a certain way and I tend to do all of the laundry because I like it folded. But I have to be able to say, no, it's okay. Like these are the things that you can help me with. These are the things that we can do together because we have decided as a woman that I'm not just going to be a caregiver. I'm also going to be an income provider. So there's a trade there. It's not a balance. It's an integration, right? So now my significant other, he doesn't have to work as hard because we're both bringing in income. But in order for that to work, we both have to share responsibilities on both sides of the fence.
Hey, rock stars. I hope you are enjoying this amazing conversation with CJ. Didn't I tell you she was incredibly inspiring? I just wanted to take a moment to tell you a little more about this exciting partnership we have with One SEO Digital Agency. One SEO is all about helping businesses grow with smart marketing and modern branding strategies. They can help your business reach more customers and stand out online. One SEO covers all the bases when it comes to digital marketing, from SEO and Google Ads to web design and social media. Plus, they're a Google Premier partner and a Yelp advertising partner, which means they have all the expertise and trusted tools to really help your business grow. What's even better is that One SEO is led by a fantastic team of women with their CEO, CJ Stasik, at the forefront. They're passionate about supporting businesses and empowering women in leadership, just like us. We've teamed up with One SEO to help you grow your business too. To find out more, be sure to head over to oneseo.com/SheRockedIt. You can find that link in our show notes, plus links to more great ways you can connect with One SEO as well as CJ through her platform and blog, She Handles It. Have there ever been any moments when having those kinds of conversations have been challenging for you? Or are you just like matter of fact, like you're doing this, I'm doing this, and we're cool? Like, or is it kind of part of your MO because you've got this great confidence? Or have there ever been like sticky moments with that?
No, so listen, I will be the first one to tell you everything that I talk about, all of my experiences come from me not doing it right and learning what wasn't working, right?
Amen. I hear that.
So, in past relationships, like I said, I thought it was my responsibility and I allowed it to become that. And then you build up this resentment and you might not outwardly share it, but it's like you're sitting there, you're folding laundry on a Sunday and you look over and your significant other is eating popcorn and watching a movie and all you want to do is throw hangers at their face, right? You created that. So it's learning to and saying it's okay to ask for help. I am building my village back up. That's the stage of my life that I'm at. Like I've got, a daughter that is a competitive swimmer. She has swim 5 days a week. She has swim meets 2 days a week. And, I've got a company to run. I've got a blog that I'm, passionate about growing and building. I've got things like this that I want to do.
Clearly you have a pet because I see this cute little pet bed behind your chair too.
I have 2 French bulldogs and then I have another mixed breed. But yeah, there's always one in the office. I took her out so she's not up here asking for attention.
I love it. If you're watching on YouTube, you see she's got this cute little, dog bed behind her awesome office. I see you got a cool office there, CJ. It's amazing. Thank you for the real talk here. Cause it's true. A lot of times what we're preaching, we have to practice first, right? And figure it out. I hear that. That. I'm curious what you think as a CEO, and remind us how long you've been CEO of One SEO.
September of 2021, I took over.
Amazing. And do you think that women lead differently?
I do. I think that women, and not all women, so I don't want to generalize, but I think if we were to generalize in specific, women do lead typically from a place of empathy, most women. Now, there are those that go to the extreme, women that have had to work really, really hard to get where they are. And they kind of have a little bit more of an iron business suit and they kind of get that B-word title sometimes because they're so, specific. But I think that typically on average, we tend to lead from empathy and we have better conversations, deeper conversations, and more thorough conversations. On the flip side, the downside to that is that sometimes we can be walked over. We can be very easily lied to, very easily manipulated because we have that level of empathy. And I'll kind of give you an example. When I'm talking to an employee because maybe they're having a rough day productivity wise, right? And I can see their performance is lacking. Maybe their output isn't where it needs to be. And I'm sitting there and I'm talking with that employee and they're like, yeah, well, my car didn't start this morning. I burnt my finger on my, my curling iron, and they're telling me all of these things that have interrupted their day. As a human being, you're like, I'm so sorry you had a rough day. But as a leader, I also have to be like, you know what? Shit happens. You can't that happened to you this morning, but that's not what's going on right now. And you've got clients to service and you've got work that needs to get done, so being able to acknowledge, have some leniency and some understanding, but then also not forgetting that as a leader, we still have to be stern. We still have to, dictate what needs to be done when it needs to get done. We have to have tough conversations. And I think that's where a lot of times women struggle in leadership and aren't as effective when they allow that empathy to stand in the way of performance and productivity.
Yeah, that's a great point. I feel like, I hired folks for the first time. I've been a solopreneur running a communications business for over 10 years. But when I launched She Rocked It, really hired a team to support me. And it was hard when people I felt weren't maybe living up to what the expectations were and things like this. And I'm very nice and I wanted to be supportive, but also, hey, like, you need, and it's good for that person to rise up and show up in a big way and show what they can do, So I totally understand that balance of wanting to be nice and make people feel good, as I think that women have that nurturing, instinct perhaps. But yeah, as a leader, we got to get the job done. And that's also, in a way, a caring nudge to step up and show up big.
And I use a lot of, experiences from parenting as well in leadership. And I think that that's another thing that has helped a lot of women in leadership as well, is really kind of understanding that, your employees, there is a parenting to them, right? You have to understand their individual nuances. They need something different from you. Not everybody likes the same version of you to show up. Some people need me to be super kind and super understanding and, very empathetic. And then some people need that gentle nudge to be able to push them. And then some people need that more of like, rub some dirt in it, get over it. Let's go. We've got a job to do. And some people need that. So I think we, as women, we have a great ability to really kind of relate and understand that. But like I said, the biggest thing is realizing when to turn it on and when to turn it off and when to be what version of you is needed for the job or task that's at hand.
That's a great point. Yeah. Like kind of which side of you you're going to magnify for that particular moment or person experience. That's really smart. I'm curious too, like as you were climbing the corporate ladder and working your way up once you got to, I guess, the Northeast and Pennsylvania to get to one, like tell us about kind of rising through the ranks at One SEO and any maybe like obstacles that you encountered on your journey to becoming CEO. Yeah,
absolutely. So when I did make the move, I had a job and it fell through. So I was, up in a completely new state, thousands of miles, away from any of my family. And I landed a sales and marketing job at a home service company, which ended up being a huge help because of our focus on home services here at One SEO. So I spent about 7 years in that doing sales and marketing. When I transitioned over to One SEO, it was a very different role for me because I transitioned into client management and I was responsible for about 98 clients at that time. And the really cool part is that transition happened in year 2 of One SEO. And there were no processes, no procedures. There was really nothing outlined, right? It was a startup company. So that was the first thing I did for myself. Because I had that corporate knowledge, that corporate background, I was able to really be able to say, okay, these are the things that I need to be successful. So I built in some processes, some templates, just kind of some things for myself to be effective. And then that led me into moving into a new role, which was leading all of those client managers and building in those processes, teaching them what had made me effective, what allowed me to manage 98 accounts when no one should have been managing 98 accounts, alone. And then I moved into VP of operations where I built processes for the entire company. So then I was really focused on putting the right bodies in the right seats and really understanding the processes. So I got really heavy into human resources and dealing with the human capital side, which I found to be a big passion of mine. So then that led me into the COO role. As the COO, I really got to flex my empathy muscle because our CEO at the time was a very sales-oriented leader. Coffee is for closers, very, strong and passionate. And that we needed that mechanism to kind of bridge that gap and help, the employees feel comfortable with what was going on.
Well, I've never heard that. What was that? Coffee is for closer. Wait, I missed that. What is that?
It's from a movie,
okay.
movie. Yeah. So any salesperson will know what it is, but it's just basically, it's just like, close. That's, that's what
always be closing. Yeah. Where is that from that movie? Yes.
Yeah. Same movie.
I've heard. Same movie. Okay.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah. So So being in that COO, then it's when I really got to focus on leadership and management and really kind of developing trainings around how do we improve the quality of our employees? How do we enhance their lives, get them new skills, and make them comfortable? And then ultimately in September of 2021, I took over as CEO, where, now I'm having the fun challenge of letting go. Which is really hard. And I don't have a lot of tips and tricks around letting go because I'm still struggling, with that. And learning to delegate and elevate and feel comfortable being absent from the day-to-day operation so that I can really be focused on the business and not constantly in the business.
Oh, I feel you on that. Are you a detail person, a perfectionist by any chance?
I'm a recovering perfectionist. All right. Because I am getting much better. And yesterday was a great example. My entire day was really built around relationships and communication. I met with a social marketing, influencer to kind of talk about some new things that she has going on and how we could collaborate, which was really great, opportunity for me. And then I took the train into New York and spent the evening with, a whole bunch of CEOs and just kind of talking about our struggles collectively and kind of things that we're working on. But I have to be honest, there was the guilt in the back of my mind. I'm on that train and I'm like, you know what? The weather's not great. I really should be in the office. And I'm like trying to convince myself why I don't need to do that. And I think that a lot of business owners, a lot of entrepreneurs, they struggle with that because it doesn't feel like work. And that's the exciting thing for me because it's like, oh my God, I can't wait to get to that point where I'm just working on all those things that drive the business forward, but they don't feel like work. And I feel like I've earned it and I should be there. So letting go should be easy, but it's really, really hard because you've put so much time, effort, and energy to getting to where you are today. There's that fear that, the people aren't going to be able to carry that forward, but I have to trust my team. I have a great team.
Totally understand that. Thank you for sharing that so candidly. It's refreshing to hear a CEO too who's saying, I'm still learning in these areas. I'm still figuring out how to delegate and trust my team. I have a personally big, challenges with that too, because I'm the kind of person that I'll do it myself, and not right. I have to ask you this question because I was just so curious. Like, have you ever gone to a meeting and someone sees that your name is CJ and they're like expecting a man CEO to walk in?
All the time, constantly.
Oh my gosh, tell us.
I have multiple times like shown up and they're like, oh, you're CJ. I thought you were a guy. I actually had a conversation and at an event where I went and introduced myself. They happened to be a client of ours, but we hadn't physically, we'd only talked to the marketing manager. So the owner had never met anyone inside the company. So I go introduce myself and she's like, you don't look like a CEO. And I'm like, what?
Wait, she said that to you?
So I'm like, what does a CEO look like? So we had a whole entire, conversation around that and around, perceptions and all of that kind of stuff. So it's not just been, men, but yeah, that happens a lot of times where we just have these preconceived notions. I get emails on LinkedIn, even though my picture is there, it says, sir. And it's like, ooh, come on, let's do a better job with our automation here. Like, clearly pronouns say she, clearly the picture is female. Like that's where, automation doesn't get it right every time.
They should be hiring you. Oh my goodness. We should have a whole episode on the perception question that you just raised about what is a CEO supposed to look like, sound like, dress like, act like. Oh my goodness. I would love to unpack that with you sometime because I think that's a ripe topic.
That would be a lot of fun. Yeah, that would be great.
A lot of fun. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Any other just obstacles? I'm so curious about, your journey in technology specifically. I mean, there's kind of the stereotype of the bro culture and, have you found that? Are you trying to create a different kind of culture within your company so everyone feels welcome in the technology space? Like how's that all going?
Yeah, absolutely. Over half of my leadership team are females. We're very diversified here. And not just from a gender standpoint, but all across the board. And it's important to me, but obstacles that I think that I have faced, and again, part of it comes in the limitations that we put on ourselves. But I'll use home services as an example. There have been numerous times where I have had to hop on a call with a client who has made comments about female client managers or even myself. You don't understand my business because you are a woman. Or asking for a male account manager because they feel that that person is going to be able to better understand their business. So again, it's very easy as a leader to a company to be like, you know what, give the client what they want. But then I'm only feeding that more into it. So no, it's more about, teaching the women that work for me that, hey, it is your responsibility to show that you deserve to be in this room. Like if someone
Wow.
is going to, if you're going to manage someone's account, then you need to do it at, the best job that you can. You need to talk to them about their data, talk to them about everything that they have going on, show them that you understand their business, that you can talk to them about the average, lifetime value of their clients. You understand what it takes, to, put shingles on a roof, that you're able to have those conversations. I think it's our responsibility. And that's what I share with the women that work for me is, hey, if they don't think you can do it, it's because you haven't shown them that you can.
That is a powerful call to action there because we can't just roll over, right?
No, you can't. You have to speak
No,
up
we
and you
got to
have
be
to prove
changing that
yourself.
thing.
And you've
Yeah.
got to want to have that tenacity. Like you've got to want
Mm,
to do that. And it's the same as when I walked into that, that company and said, hey, I'm going to work here and you're not going to leave me in that role for very long. I believed it. And, when I work with a client, I believe that I am just as capable of my male counterpart. And if I don't understand roofing, it's because I haven't educated myself. If I
right.
can't talk shop with that client that's, doing air conditioning repair, it's because I haven't educated myself. Men don't come out of the womb understanding air conditioning, heating, and contracting and roofing. It's because they spend time understanding it. They're interested in it. They want to learn about it. They got exposed to it. So we have to expose ourselves.
And even just walking into the room you walked into last night, you have to own that you should be in that room, right? And like, I'm just curious, are there any like mental practices or anything, affirmations? You do some meditating before you walk into a room that might be where you're the only woman. Like anything that you just kind of take with you. I know I have certain things that I do to psych myself up. Hype music. I don't know. Like, what are some of your secrets?
Yeah, well, music is definitely one of my hype things.
Yes.
My kids know that too. It's how I pump myself up. It's also how I de-escalate when I feel too much. So music is definitely one of them. But I think what I've learned lately that I do is I set tiny micro goals for the events that I'm going to be going to for myself. So, for example, last night I had arrived a little bit early, and normally I would just walk around and kind of do that thing, but I said no, I'm going to set a goal. I'm going to sit at the bar and I'm going to talk to at least two people around me, and then when I get into that room, I'm going to exchange business cards with at least three people that I feel we could have a good relationship or there's value in us communicating with. So I set myself a goal, so that holds me accountable, that I don't want to leave that event without having those two bar conversations and walking out with three business cards in my hand. So that puts pressure on me to not just walk in a room and kind of make myself small. And that's kind of what happens, especially in the CEO space, because I wasn't allowed to bring any other attendees with me. So that meant I was on the train by myself for an hour and a half. I'm in an Uber in New York City, by myself for 20 minutes. And then I'm walking into that room without anybody to talk to until I
Yeah.
start a conversation or someone starts with me. So setting those tiny goals with, just a minimum amount of conversations you want to have, or, a maximum goal that you're looking to achieve, that holds you accountable. I ended up, when I sat at the bar, the event that I went to, I ended up sitting next to the founder of that company. We had a 30-minute conversation all about, business and related to how he started the company and everything that went on. I wouldn't have done that if I would have just tried to wait until it was time for the event to start, make myself small. I can't say
Right.
it because I'm alone.
That's such a great tip of making those like micro goals
Yeah.
so that you're kind of like focused on that. It puts you maybe a little bit out of your comfort zone,
Yeah.
the safety zone. I love that. That is so awesome. And I know we've been talking about like a lot of the challenges around being a CEO, but what are some of the most like enjoyable parts for you, the most rewarding parts?
Yeah, we were actually talking about that last night. So some of the most enjoyable things for me, and it's both on the client side and my employee side, is being able to see growth. and know that you single-handedly impacted it. So for example, since we deal a lot with small and medium-sized businesses, we get a unique opportunity to, my clients will call and say, because of the work that you guys did, I sent my kid to private school. We get to watch a painting company have one truck on the road and a year later have a fleet of 5. Like that is exciting and that is fun. And we're a part of that. Same thing with my employees, like, watching my employees buy their first home or get married or, have children, their careers are being accelerated and I'm a part of that. And that feels really good. And then the other piece, to being a CEO or benefit to it is you're part of so much change. And you're kind of around a group of people that collectively you can decide to make change. Over the last couple of months, even women like yourself, I have been able to collaborate with a handful of women who are on the same mission. And that wouldn't happen, if I wasn't in the role that I'm in, because I have a different voice. But if I don't use it, it's not going to be heard.
Wow, I love it. And I love that you're including right now sharing your wisdom with us, because you do have a unique voice in the space with what you're doing. And it's awesome to hear from you. I'm curious if you can tell us, I can't let you off this call without telling us a little more about SEO, right? About marketing, telling us about what you're focusing on and how you're helping your clients get a fleet of 5 vans. So, as entrepreneurs, I think many of the folks in our community, in the She Rocked It community, are either aspiring entrepreneurs or already creative entrepreneurs, or really looking towards bringing more creativity and courage into their lives. What can you tell us, what's 1 or 2 things that we must think about when it comes to digital marketing or SEO that are just the tips that we should not miss?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that one of the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs and business owners tend to make when it comes to marketing is not truly understanding their audience. Not really going in and doing the research, taking the time to do product market fit and really understand who it is that you're trying to communicate with. And more importantly, where they actually are online, because we come to it from a very biased standpoint, to the standpoint of, I know who I created this for, and I know where I go to search for things that are similar to that. So I think that that's one of the things that's is missed, is really taking your time to research and understand your audience, where they are and how you can get in front of them. The other piece is expecting to have some overnight success. Search engine optimization, for example, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And you're going to have some small successes along the way. You're going to have some times where things are just not working and they're failing. You're going to test things. You're going to revise things. Marketing isn't this fine tune. You turn it on and it just miraculously does everything you want it to do. So being able to know that you're going to experiment, that you're going to want to take your time, and understanding the omni-channel approach, right? What works for you today might not work for you tomorrow, but do you want to wait until tomorrow to decide what to try next? No. So you do all this A/B testing so that you're able to have these levers to say, okay, Google's not doing as much as I want it to do. I'm going to turn it down and I'm going to ramp up Yelp. Or, social media is really killing it for us. I'm going to move budget from here and I'm going to put it into social media because that's really bringing in, the majority of our leads. So understanding that it takes effort and it takes work. And then the other tip is data. Data and leveraging your analytics is crucial. The famous saying out there is, numbers don't lie. People lie about numbers. But the reality is, if you have garbage coming in, you're going to have garbage coming out. So numbers can lie if they're not accurately portrayed and they're not consistent. So I think spending time on really understanding your data, your analytics, and having one source of truth to understand what's performing in your marketing are the 3 biggest tips that I would, to give to startups, to existing businesses. It's crucial.
I love that. And it is really a long game, isn't it? It's not like an right, and the algorithms are always changing. They always are pulling things out from under us too, right? We got to learn all the time.
Correct. And to that point, that's why it's so important to have multi-channel approaches and to be doing different things, because one channel, an algorithmic shift could make that channel completely not work at all for a period of time. Right. Like you're back to the drawing board, or you have to make a change in your campaign, which puts it back into a learning phase. All of that is a reality with these third-party, resellers of, this technology. So it's That it is. It's a long game, and it can be a lot of fun if you're looking at it from an experimental. Let's maximize it. It can be really enjoyable, but it is very frustrating when you have all of your eggs in one basket and that basket stops working, and you're just like looking at your website and you're like, what do I do?
Yes, I'm sure you've had to gently talk to some clients if they were stressed and be like, hey, we're going to go over here instead of here and stuff like that.
Yes,
Cause we do have to pivot all the time in
absolutely.
the world of marketing. I know myself. Amazing. Well, I want to ask you one other thing back to more like the personal. You had mentioned, I think on your website in your bio that your personal well-being is very important to you. You're, taking time to exercise, taking time for self-care. We've done some panels about this with women leaders and CEOs like yourself about, and you said something about it's about integrating work and life, which I was curious. I wanted to come back to that. So tell us about your kind of day-to-day and how you integrate taking care of yourself into what I imagine is an incredibly demanding schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, everything that I'm sharing is because I failed previously and I learned from that failure, and I needed to create something that worked specifically for me. So it not necessarily would work for everyone, but I don't believe in today's world that balance is achievable. And the reason is our personal lives and our professional lives are so intertwined. Like, we as a human, we are our personal brand. It affects how people see us at work, and everything is so intertwined. And there's also this expectation with technology that you don't have to wait for anything. You can get answers right away. Our
Right.
clients feel that way. So there's so much integration. So for me, it's about optimizing my life to maximize my ability to be great at every role that I have, because I don't just have the role of CEO, right? I have the role of significant other. I have the role of being, a family member. I have the role of being a parent. I have the role of being the author of my blog, like all of these things. And in order for me to be the best at each one of them, I have to optimize my life. So I have a 40-minute commute. So in my car, I only listen to podcasts or Audible that are going to educate me and get me in the right frame of mind. So in the mornings, I'm going to listen to things that are related to work or to marketing or to a struggle that I might be dealing with, so that when I walk in the door, my brain is already focused on the company and not on what my daughter just talked about, not what they just said on the radio that's going on in the news. I'm mentally prepared for that. In addition, if I'm leaving the office at the end of the day, it's been a rough day, I feel a little bit overwhelmed, I'm going to put on something more light and fluffy. I'm going to put on something that maybe is more inspiring. Maybe I'll listen to music, but I use that time to get me in the right frame of mind. When I leave the office, I make sure my team knows what my evening is going to be like. So, for example, I mentioned my daughter is a competitive swimmer. I go to practice with her. She practices 5 days a week. So when I take her to practice, I let her know, hey, mom's got work to do while you're at practice, because that way when I get home for dinner, I can, focus on you, and we can, make dinner together or whatever the case may be. So I'm open and honest with my family and the people around me about when I need that focus time and what that's for. And then time management, like I mentioned, is really huge for me. A story that I tell, and I think you were in the room when I had done a vision exercise, is like that pivotal moment in my life when I realized I can't be everything for everyone. Taking the groceries out of the car, loading all of my arms, up with groceries, opening the door with my foot because I can't even
Yeah.
open it. My arms are so heavy. And then there's, 3 or 4 people in the house that could have helped me. I just didn't ask. And I didn't use my time wisely. So now I use technology to help. So I can have groceries delivered through Instacart. I can do meal planning through Chat GPT. I have a menu board at the house so that my family knows what's being cooked or when it's DIY, right? When I am not going to be home to cook dinner, the calendar says DIY, do that shit yourself. I'm
I
not
love it.
tonight, right? So that's kind of how I start to optimize my day. And then when my daughter goes to bed at night, she's the youngest. So when the youngest is down, that is when I will go and check to see, are there any emergencies, any red flags? Do my team need to update me on anything? So I'm not letting work go, but at the same time, I'm allowing for that integration within my life so that I'm the best version of me showing up at each one of those.
I love it. And are you a coffee drinker? I want to have your energy. What's going on with this great energy? I want to be optimized. What's happening?
I don't drink coffee.
No? Oh my gosh. What are you drinking?
I only drink water.
Just
Just water.
okay.
On the
I'm
weekend, it's more like
impressed.
vodka and pineapple.
But okay, I was going to ask you what when you're turning off, what's happening?
Yeah,
Vodka,
vodka,
pineapple.
pineapple. And
Oh,
also
yum.
that's another thing too that is really about the work-life integration is finding the things that allow you to get back into your center zone. So I am an avid hiker and kayaker. Being in the woods, being near the water, that is when I can actually turn things off. And what I
Yeah.
realized over time is if I don't do that, I physically can get ill because
Yeah.
what we tend to do, especially as women, is there's all these things happening throughout our lives that we just kind of suck up and swallow. Right. It's like, we talk about the dishes, right? The dishwasher got loaded wrong. You're really unhappy about it. And you're just like, and you don't say anything. You just hold that in. You're dealing with an issue at work and you got all these things going on and you don't want to say it in a certain way. You swallow it and you let it in. All that builds up, all that energy builds up and it manifests in you not feeling well. It manifests in your head not being clear. You cannot be creative. You're working from this sense of feeling overwhelmed and feeling stressed. So finding things that let you shut your brain off completely, bring back that level of creativity, bring back that peace, and allow you to feel what you felt and let it pass. And I think a lot of women don't take time for it, or we feel guilty when we do. And we can't do that, right? One day a year, I go hiking all by myself, nobody else, just
Love
me.
it.
And
Yep.
you can feel guilty or you can be like, oh, it's kind of weird. But there's so much creativity that happens within that. I mean, there's like 20 to 30 blogs that are coming out of that one hike. Just observing nature and observing what I feel and kind of what comes up. I don't think we spend enough time like really feeling what we feel and let those thoughts come through.
I love that. By the way, we're going to put CJ's blog link in our show notes so you can read about the blogs that came out of her solo hike. I love it, CJ. I am so inspired. I literally want to take over the world right now after this conversation. Thank you so much for this jolt of inspiration. We always end our conversations here at She Rocked It by asking for one final tip to rock it. You've given us so many great tips, like an abundance of tips, but can you leave us with one more tip to rock it?
Absolutely. And it's really around your authentic self. And this is a big passion for me because a lot of times, especially for me in my career, mentors, people that I worked with told me, fake it till you make it. And the reason why they do that is because people feel like your authentic self can't show up at every stage because we feel like there's only one version of us, but there's not. There is the version of me that sits at swim and cheers my daughter on. There's a version of me that was at that CEO dinner last night. There is a version of me that showed up with that influencer. There's this energy that you feel, with me right now because I'm excited. You're exciting. We're having a great conversation and we're having fun. This is all me. All of those versions are me. And I think that we shy away because we think there's only one authentic version. So my biggest tip and takeaway that I would like for people to do is to realize that show up how you need to show up for what you're trying to accomplish and where you're at. So when you walk into that school, be that version of the mother that needs to show up to maximize that conversation. When you're walking into that boardroom, it's okay to be a completely different version, of yourself, but it's still authentic. It's still you. You're just calling that skill, that capacity to the forefront because that's what's needed, that competency at that moment to be successful.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Thank you for sharing all the sides of yourself today. You've given us so much inspiration. Keep rocking it, CJ. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of the She Rocked It podcast. The podcast is produced by Karen Gross, Tori Marchioni, and Erin Phelan, with audio engineering by Tung Chen. The She Rocked It theme song is by Karen Gross and Tim Motzer. Thanks again to CJ Stasik and One SEO Digital Agency for their support of this episode. If you'd like to stay in the loop about everything going on with She Rocked It, be sure to check out our website at sherockedit.com or follow us on Instagram at SheRockedIt. Rock on.